What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and this video I want to talk about something kind of different. Still, obviously, in The Last of Us feel, and obviously, if you guys have seen the title, you know. But I want to talk about if Naughty Dog is ruined because of this. Kind of talk about the long-term impacts of Naughty Dog. There are some things I want to talk about that I'm not going to include in this video. Like, I want to talk about what maybe their next game could be. We're going to be talking about The Last of Us 3 over the next little stretch of time. We'll have some videos on that as well. But specifically for this, I kind of want to look at, okay, Last of Us Part 2 is out. People have gotten it. There's a lot of different opinions in terms of critics, in terms of people on critics, in terms of the user reviews. Right? Everybody is very, very split on this game. It's not everybody hates it, and it's definitely not everybody loves it. And so what does that mean for Naughty Dog? Well, here's what I'll say. Naughty Dog took major risks. They were bold. They did a lot of things that you kind of would expect Naughty Dog to do with this game, okay? They took it to the next level. I mean, all of those like key talking point words that you want to say, they did it, okay? They absolutely did it. And did they achieve what they were going out to do? You know, that ultimately I think lies with us. That lies with your own personal opinion on how you feel about this game. But there's no doubt about it that I think Naughty Dog has stayed kind of true to what they've been doing from The Last of Us 1 to 2. Now, obviously, there was the injection of a lot of different things, SJW mainly, things into this game. Okay, a ton of it. And you could argue that it started with Uncharted 4. And in fact, I would have probably said that I didn't see that in Uncharted 4 before people. Actually, I made a video talking about if Uncharted 4 would be better without Neil Druckmann. And there's a couple of people in there that gave me very specific things that you could look at in Uncharted 4 to say, you know what, this kind of stuff that's now very heavily in The Last of Us Part 2 and maybe going to be heavily injected into future Naughty Dog games, it really was in Uncharted 4. It's just that we kind of gave them it because it was the end of Nate's story and all that stuff. Very interesting. If you guys haven't checked out that video, please do, and read the comments because there's some really, really good ones there. And it's a good point. It's a really good point. What happens to Naughty Dog because of this? I think, here's what I will honestly say this. I think the ramifications aren't going to be as massive as people would want and hope for. At the same time, I do think it's possible things change. I really do. The problem, and again, it completely depends on where you stand on this, and I completely understand both sides of it. If you want change, the problem with it is this game is going to sell so much, okay? And that's a good thing. It's a good thing for Sony. It's a good thing for PlayStation, all that kind of stuff. But if you want Naughty Dog to radically change, maybe go back to what you think, like the Golden Age Naughty Dog, or simply fix what they messed up with in The Last of Us 3, which, by the way, I mean, I completely understand. I'm on your side. I want things to not be the way they are with The Last of Us Part 2. I want certain things, especially a lot of the SJWs, but some of the major, even story decisions, I wish they were changed. I wish they had done it differently, right? We've talked about that in some videos, and we'll continue to talk about that in other ones. But you look at what maybe they could do going forward. I don't know if they'll change all that much because the game is going to sell outrageous amounts. Naughty Dog is still going to be the top of the game when it comes to, and you know, even besides that, you look at really the technical feats that they've pulled off with this game, and I even said this on Twitter, say what you want. You can love this game, you can hate this game, you can be anywhere in between. I think what they still pulled off with the technology, like pushing the PS4, I think they did an insane job, okay? It looks amazing. The features, how characters move, how characters react, I mean, they're like the small details, there's so many things in this game that are outrageously good, okay? So in that regard, in terms of like the quality, maybe not storytelling quality anymore, but in terms of like quality of the game, that you know this is like a AAA action game. You're always going to get a AAA action game from Naughty Dog. That is true. That still stays true going forward. And I don't want them to change that. You know what I mean? I don't think they should change that. There's a lot of things, ultimately, that they should not change going forward. It's going to be hard because gaming journalists are all on board with this game. You see a lot of positive things coming out about this game, and then you see the loud group of people that are against this game. The question is, how much does Sony value those voices, value the people that are upset? I hope they value at least the people that are upset for and give their reason. You know, people are always going to blindly love things, and people are always going to blindly hate things. Okay, that's going to be the case for anything, especially big movies, big games, there's always going to be haters. And again, I'm not against you if you're a hater. Hear me out. There's always going to be haters simply for the fact that it's out. You know what I mean? Like, oh, The Last of Us 1. Maybe people are going to say, well, The Last of Us 1 was overrated, or I hated that game, so I'm going to hate this game. Or maybe you have people on Microsoft or Nintendo that say, hey, those games are, you know what I mean? There's always going to be like console wars going on, stuff like that. You're always going to get that. But you are going to have people with actual criticism, and that's the part there. Will Naughty Dog, maybe that should be the maybe I'll if you guys see a different title for this, you'll understand why. Maybe that should be it. Will Naughty Dog accept the criticism of this game? I think it's kind of fair that they should. I think there are things in this game that you have to understand, and you have to say, you know what, maybe this isn't the best way of doing. You know what I mean? Ultimately, you do want to have them have their freedom, okay? In fact, it's one of the staples of like the Sony first-party studios is like, hey, Sony gives them a lot of leeway. They give them as much time as they want. They give them a lot of money. They let them make their games. They let them pick their own game, like all this kind of stuff. They give them a lot of freedom, and that's important. That's how we got The Last of Us. That's how we got the Infamous games and Uncharted and God of War and all this stuff. That's how we've done it. That's how we've still been getting these games. You know what I mean? And ultimately, again, whether you love or hate this game, it does push it in a new direction. I mean, a brand new direction. Again, whether you hate the direction of winning, it pushed it to a new direction, and it really did push Naughty Dog into a new level. Is it a higher level? No, not necessarily. It pushed them into a level of, man, these guys are bold. These guys are risky. These guys now have a target on their back. These guys are not perfect. These guys are not immune. You know what I mean? There's a lot that came from this that I think is going to last with Naughty Dog going forward. I mean, the ramifications of this, I think, are, again, going to be mainly from the consumer point of view, where are we going to trust them with The Last of Us Part 3? No, I don't think we're going to trust them as much. I've said, my personal opinion is, and you could call me a lot of words, okay? You can call me a lot of different words, like Sony fanboy, whatever. You know, go wild. But because I want to be transparent with you guys, where I honestly stand on it is this: these games are still like incredible in their own right. Okay, they destroyed a lot of things in this game, but like in a different kind of way, they're still incredible. I still think, myself, and maybe it's because of the channel, maybe it's because I still do have trust for them and I still love these franchises, I will still buy Naughty Dog games day one. I will still cover them. I will still give them chances. I'm an optimistic guy in general, and you can go around the channel to look at that. I'm a very optimistic guy, so I'm sure I'll be optimistic. But here's what I will say, is I will not give them the complete benefit of the doubt where when they're announcing their new game or when we see their new game, I'm not going to go in and saying, you know what, that's going to be game of the generation. I know for a fact I'm going to adore this game. I'm not doing that anymore. And I think a lot of people, at the very least, are going to do the same thing. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people are going to say, I can't trust that these games are going to be incredible anymore. Look what they did. I don't think everybody's going to drop them. I really don't. We'll have to see in the larger consumer base, because that's going to be so interesting, because another thing is the world doesn't always live on the internet. Okay, if the game sells 20 million copies, not all of those 20 million people are on the internet. They're all not leaving Metacritic scores. They're all not watching my videos. They're not all watching videos that are going, like say the Quartering or Geeks and Gamers, right? They were very vocally against them. They're not watching them. They're not watching IGN's previews. They're not watching people defending this game. They're buying it or they're not buying it, and that's it. That's the world. And it depends on, really, they're going to decide, because if they don't buy The Last of Us Part 3 or they don't buy the Naughty Dog game, there is the mark that's like, oh, we actually upset the general public, and we didn't even know it because we think the whole world lives online. You know what I mean? It's going to be really, really interesting. I hope, and I do think, Naughty Dog has 1,000% taken some problems that have happened in past games and improved upon them. I mean, they just do. A lot of developers do it. Some don't, but a lot of them do. And Naughty Dog is absolutely one that you can see in terms of like gameplay features, in terms of this or that. They have improved a lot of things. Now, again, storytelling, I feel like they're always kind of on like a different, literally again, like a different level in terms of what we say maybe doesn't affect them. You know what I mean? I don't know how much they took of Uncharted 4, what we thought of that story, or the story of The Last of Us. I don't know how much that impacted what they did with storytelling of this game, because ultimately, again, what Naughty Dog is kind of known for and what does make them special and different is they tell their stories. They're going to do it. They're going to put you in control, but you have to play their story. You know what I mean? You're going to do things in The Last of Us Part 2 that you absolutely don't want to do, but you have to do it. It's a game. It's their game. You bought it, and so you're playing. You know what I mean? It's all of those situations. So I understand that. I understand that point of view. I understand that in a way, there is something about Naughty Dog that actually shouldn't and probably never will, as long as certain people are in there, won't change. You know what I mean? At the same time, there are apps. I really hope they tone down the SJW stuff. There are definitely things that they have to really critically look at and say, did we need to do that? Did that upset the vast majority of people? Maybe look at the like they can look inside the game. You know, I don't want to spoil it maybe in this video, but obviously the main twist, kind of the change that you do like halfway through this game, those that have played it obviously will know. The big twist that happens in this game, maybe in their analytics, they look at it and they see a huge drop, because you can tell, in a video game, the developers can tell every single small stat of here's where a person stops playing the game here, or here's how often a person does this or does that. Maybe they'll look at it and say, oh man, when you make this change of you know what, literally like half the people just leave and they never complete the rest of the game. And then they may look at it and they say, you know what, we can't have that. We can't have the majority. And yes, actually, it's a sad tale in single player games. Most people, in fact, the majority of people don't make it even halfway through the game. That's just actually how the statistics are, which kind of sucks. But it may be even worse for this game, is what I'm saying. And they may look at it and they say, you know what, we're confident and we like the story we told, but like people didn't really play it. Like they bought our game, they gave Sony money, which gave us money, but they didn't actually experience our full story. And we see that maybe they don't like this character or they don't like this thing. We have to change it up, especially for a game like this, because it's not only talking about the new Naughty Dog game, right? Because they're going to start a brand new IP next. But what happens with Last of Us Part 3? Do they honestly take the criticism of this game and implement it in The Last of Us Part 3? Is it, again, like I've said in past videos, is it a Star Wars situation where 3 is like The Rise of Skywalker, where it's going to try to go back to what worked, try to just forget about some of the things that maybe people didn't like about in 2? You know what I mean? Does it try that? It may also. I think it's more likely it doesn't, only because it's still going to be Neil Druckmann, whereas Star Wars, had the rotating basically cast of directors, right? So for the Last of Us, for this game, it's still his story. It's still Neil Druckmann's story that he probably has a plan for, that he wants to tell all the way through the end. You know what I mean? So it is going to be really, really interesting to see what happens with Naughty Dog. Again, we're going to have videos over the next couple of weeks where I'm going to be talking about The Last of Us Part 3. So those videos will be coming. I'll talk about maybe specifics, what's going to be in the game, or what I think could be, what they need to try to eliminate, stuff like that. I'll have that talk. But for this, it's more of, what happens to Naughty Dog? Does Naughty Dog get crushed? Does it not become Sony's #1 studio anymore? You know what I mean? What kind of happens in the background with Naughty Dog? So let me know in the comments below, guys. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think? Make sure, as always, you guys are subscribed, have that bell icon turned on. And thank you, as always, for watching. As I've said, new Last of Us Part 2 videos coming to you guys every single day for the next couple weeks. Got lots of topics. I've even I wrote down an entire list of things I want to talk about topic-wise for this game. So we're going to try and nail every single one of them, okay? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.